Well, guys, it is with great pleasure that I'm introducing our next speaker. This person is somebody that's local here in our market. I really admire his body of work, and he's going to talk to us about what are the things that he's doing to leverage open houses to get more business. He's a proud father of three boys, a husband, broker associate, and team leader at One Path Realty, Louis Andrew. Louis, thank you so much for being here with us today. We really value you. Please introduce yourself. Let us know how you got started in real estate and how long have you been in the business.
Perfect. Hey, Daniel, how are you? And hope everyone is doing well. I've been in the business since 2014, jumped into real estate full time in about 2018, and kind of did this corporate America finance background for about 10 years before making the shift over into the entrepreneur lifestyle that we are as realtors. And our team is headquartered in Cutler Bay, and this is where I was born and raised, and majority of my friends and family are. And just very excited to be on this and give much advice and support that I can for my fellow colleagues.
Cool. So one of the things that I enjoy about our conversations leading up to this event is the fact that you were sharing a lot of information with me. But hey, this time, let's just not share it with me. Let's share it with everybody. So tell us a little bit, just in general, how much more business are you getting, buyer and seller side as well, specifically from your open houses?
Yeah, no, good question. So last year we ended the year around 130 transactions. To give you an idea, this year we'll probably do over, I would say 200, 250 transactions this year. Out of that, 45% of our business is working with sellers directly. So if you can imagine, 45% of, I don't know, it was 58 listings last year. Each single one, we try to always have an open house, regardless of COVID, the condition, the seller, the market. It doesn't matter if the house has carpet. I want to do an open house. And almost at a majority of the open houses, we usually generate at least one lead from them, whether it's a buyer, whether it's another listing. And it just shows to the homeowner that, we're doing our jobs, and they really appreciate that.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So now, how are you getting these listings primarily to then do the open houses? How are you targeting listings specifically?
Yeah, I'll kind of start where I started my career off, because I think everyone is at a different stage in their career. At the beginning, I started off working directly with investors and helping people find properties that they can flip. And in turn, I would then get the listing. So that's kind of where majority of my listings have came from. But over the time and over the years and building this brand farming, we do direct mail. We're on bus benches. We have try to have mega open houses with a lot of sale signs out, a lot of content and marketing material that gets door knocked to the different neighbors, and just do a really good job. You can never over communicate to your clients. And if you raise that bar and you would have that over extension of communication, the referral business is probably the best business for us.
I know you mentioned, I recall in our conversation, that another thing that you do is that you try to have 3 contacts per day. You mentioned that. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Sure. There's no magic sauce, to stay busy. There's no wand that says, hey, this is how you get really busy. But to keep it simple, I just try to speak to 3 different people every day. And this is something that I've done for a long time. And it could be somebody in your phone book. It can be a past client. It can be a friend, family, a connector, but just 3 new people every day. And it's very, very simple.
So for some of the newer agents that may be watching this, what would be, I guess, what would be a simple script of a conversation that you have with somebody you would just call up, from your phone book per se?
Yeah, I'll give you an example of one that we actually just closed on their house last week. I called a past client of mine who bought a condo here in Miami, or actually in Cutler Bay specifically. And I knew with COVID, he wasn't going back and forth. He has a place up in Flagler Beach. And I just gave him a call to touch base on how his kids were doing. And then I asked him, hey, with COVID and everything going on, are you still driving down to Cutler Bay? And he says, no, I haven't been there in 6 months. So I kind of used COVID as an excuse to give this person a call, turned into him, finding out that he hasn't been driving back and forth. And I just proposed the question, hey, would you consider selling your property? And he thought about it. 2 weeks later, I followed up again. And I said, hey, we just sold one across the street. It's a lot more than what you paid for it. Would you consider selling now? And he gave us the listing and we sold. But I don't, go in there right away and say, hey, I want to sell your property. It's more of a soft approach and kind of just ask certain open-ended questions and see where it goes.
Good stuff. So I'm curious, why open houses? why not just get the listing, put it in the MLS, you're going to get a ton of offers and you're definitely going to sell it. Why do the open house?
Yeah, I think the bigger question is why not, right? Well, you have an opportunity, so many realtors, if they took that approach, that's it. You didn't have an opportunity to use it to make another deal out of it. Some realtors don't even put open house for sale signs up nowadays because it's selling immediately with the power of us. So it's an opportunity to speak to more homeowners. It's an opportunity to ask for more referrals. And with the amount of realtors who don't show up to open houses and send their clients directly there, it's an opportunity to meet buyers and show them, hey, this is what other realtors do in our area, in our market, and we're the experts. And you might want to, challenge your realtor who you're working with today. And I think too many realtors are just dropping the ball and not showing up to these open houses and not attending or even participating in pushing to do an open house as well.
So safe to say that one of the tips that we'll be giving our audience today is to attend with their clients to the open houses, right?
Without a doubt. And I know we'll probably use that later on, but when we get to that, absolutely.
Most definitely. So who is doing your open houses? And if not you, how do you select somebody from your team? And what are their duties, their qualifications per se to ensure that you guys have a successful open house?
Sure. So currently today, we do have a large team. So the team is doing the open houses. And we try to have at least 2 or 3 agents there. It really depends on price point, location, how big the house is. Maybe a small little condo is not going to have, 2 or 3 agents working it. We really don't have a process. We just reach out and see who's available. It's such an opportunity as a brand new agent to host an open house, have a reason to knock on the neighbors' doors with their marketing material, their face and their phone number, and then the potential to speak to not only realtors in the business, but as well as potential buyers.
All right. So obviously you have the open house, you generate contacts from that open house, right? And those are called free organic leads. Yes. What processes do you now have with your team and your agents to make sure that you're following up with those contacts to try to convert those leads into future business?
Yeah, so those leads should, be recorded at the open house, right? So we should be gathering phone number, email, full name, and kind of a little information about each individual client. You're going to want to build a rapport or a relationship with every single person and treat every single person like, hey, this could potentially be your house that you're buying. That information will then get entered into our CRM. And these are great leads, right? Majority of people who attend open houses, especially with COVID, are very serious buyers. So we're going to work these leads, even if they just came in to visit or just a neighbor being nosy, because there's a reason they took time from their Saturday or Sunday to attend these open houses. So we'll treat them as a lead and add them to drip plans and do our best to try to convert purchase or maybe sell to purchase a home.
Interesting. Now, can you share with us some of the mistakes that you've made with your listings and obviously open houses as well?
Yeah, I definitely have made a lot of mistakes to figure this out. I think timing is so important. And I'll give you an example. There's an open house this Sunday. Not my team is hosting, but it's from 1 to 4. I'm not sure that the agent who listed it realized that, hey, it's Super Bowl this week.
Super Bowl, man.
No one's showing up to your open house. And if they do, they're all going to be there at 1. And they're going to, at the end of your open house, unless they're really serious and they're willing to miss the Super Bowl. But you kind of have to really see what's going on in the world. So depending on what the sports world is, if it's on a Saturday and there's a UM game, or if it's a Sunday and it's a Dolphins game, I try to avoid those times because I notice the crowd is a lot less. So that's something I've done it before, where in our city, we're not allowed to put open house signs in the swale. So just, if I'm there in a couple hours, they'll just disappear. The city will come and rip out all the signs. So a mistake there that I've made is, taking the opportunity to go knock on the neighbor's door and ask them if I can put an open house sign in front of their house. Not only does it give me the chance to meet and talk to somebody new, I know my sign's not going to get ripped out of the crowd. And then probably schedule the open house too soon. I used to wait, 1 day before an open house to schedule it. I think now over time I'm learning that it's a little bit better to schedule an open house maybe on a Monday or Tuesday, but the open house is on a Saturday or Sunday. Kind of build the momentum, let people see this coming up, and it's just been a better turnout.
Fair enough. I want to take a moment here to guys, if you have any questions for Luis, make sure you put them in the chat. We'll make sure he answers that for you. I think Luis had a question, and I think you were kind of talking about this, like how do you promote the open house? I would imagine that, for example, some of what you mentioned, right, with the promoting the signs. What else do you do? Do you do any mailings, for example, besides the door knockings? What else do you do, if anything?
Yeah, in the perfect world, the door knocking would start before. And the ultimate goal of the open house is to get more listings. I know a lot of agents think, hey, the ultimate goal is to represent the buyer when they walk in or to sell the house quickly. But no, as a realtor, the ultimate goal is to get more listings. So the door knocking is probably the most important thing to promote. I want the neighbors curious. I want the neighbors to come in to the house and look at it and see. And nowadays, and the way the market has shifted, people who purchased homes a couple years ago, their houses are significantly worth more money. So if I can get the neighbor to have an idea that, oh wait, I can make a couple $100,000, let me consider selling. So absolutely promoting not only in our social media channels, but door knocking to the neighbors, mailers, and the power of the MLS is unreal, and no one can deny that. The MLS is going to power your open house to Zillow, to Realtor.com, to Trulia, to Redfin, and that right there is the most powerful tool to get as much exposure of a property.
Awesome, man. So obviously challenging times, and I want you to tell me, kind of walk me through how have your team, and obviously you and your team have adjusted to the current market situations, lack of inventory. Let's talk about COVID for a moment. You mentioned door knocker. Who wants to open a door, obviously in a pandemic, environment? And what conversations are you having with your sellers to have to do an open house and bring 30, 40 people into their houses? Please talk about that.
Yeah, so 100% mindset shift. I was the same way. I said, hey, nobody wants to be knocked on their door. No one's going to let me inside their house. No one's going to let me do an open house. I was wrong on everything. People want to be knocked on their door. They haven't seen a person. Maybe now things are a little different, but if you go back when COVID hit, you would go months not going to see anybody unless you're at the grocery store. So I think people really like that door knock, and you have to be respectful and wear a mask and keep your 6 feet distance. So I think just that shift in mindset was probably the easiest way to continue to do these activities. And then, in terms of getting that objection or that rejection from a seller saying, hey, I want an open house, the argument I always have is, do you really want 30 or 40 people throughout your house throughout the entire week at all scattered hours? Or I can, contain this to 30, 40 people with a 3-hour window, everyone taking turns, and I can clean your house after every single person one time. It is what it is situation, but you want me to sell your house quickly, and I've yet to have any single seller push back an open house.
That's
even
powerful.
COVID.
Powerful. And we got a quick question here from Sharon. Louis, if you bring an agent to your open house, do you to help you? Can you talk about your do you compensate that person? I guess if you can read the question, Louis, and explain that a little bit.
If I'm assuming if the agent, or I don't compensate any agent for my team from, I guess, the listing perspective of, hey, you're taking a piece of the commission that the listing or the seller's paying me. But if a buyer was to walk in and I'm there and the agent's there, I let the agent do everything. I don't compete with my agents. I'm not gonna, say, oh, this is my buyer. I don't even work with buyers. So the huge benefit for the team there is they absolutely keep, their whole commission on the buying side.
Okay, fair enough. So, hey, lastly, can you share what are some of the things, tips, things that you can share with, obviously, the newer agents for when they have their next listing or their next open house, obviously, so they have great success? What are some of the things that you can share with them?
Yeah, so I guess you got to be part of a team or a company, right, that has listings. Because just because it's not your listing doesn't mean you can't call your broker and they have, 60, 70 listings and you can do an open house somewhere there. So don't be afraid to do an open house on a listing that's not yours. You need to use this as an opportunity to speak to as many people as possible. So I think that's really important. If you're part of a company that doesn't focus on listings, you might want to shift to a different business or a different team or company organization that has listings if you're trying to get into that world. And then the open houses, even to this personal question earlier, even if you're not compensated, we're in real estate, we're entrepreneurs. If you lose a couple hours of your time and get to meet and speak to a handful of agents, speak to a handful of potential buyers who might need to sell to buy, take that as an opportunity to learn, to grow. And then I think it's important to time the open houses accordingly. You got to be careful if there's a sporting event. Again, I'm going to use Sunday as an example. I know for a fact I saw an open house this Sunday. it's a little strange, that is somebody, you might potentially have a better turnout if you would have done it on Saturday. Again, the sellers may have said no to Saturday, they want Sunday. I'm not sure, but timing, I think, is extremely important.
All right. Well, hey, want to thank you for your time. Really appreciate you coming with us. Any last words, I guess, for all the audience that's watching you now?
No, other than, this industry is a complete mindset. And if you continue to work hard and do strong and show up, I think there's a lot of lazy people in the nicest way possible in our industry that want to get paid a lot of money and do no work. Show up to the open house with your clients. It's so important. And use the opportunity to build the rapport with the listing agent, because that listing agent's going to remember you. So what a way to stand out in this industry where you get 30 offers on a property and you're the one agent who didn't show up to the open house with your client. So use this as an opportunity, put in the work, put in the effort, it's going to pay off. And I think your sellers will appreciate the fact that you're there, and your buyers will appreciate the fact that you're there at the open house as well.
Well, awesome, man. Great work.
Absolutely.